so desperately want to, exercise consistently, eat healthy consistently, meditate regularly, do all those wellness practices, but you can't. You know what you so desperately want to do, but you just can't do it and actually stick with it. And that was me this week. Completely just fell off of where I've been. And it was a struggle for about 4 days. But bounced back. Life is feeling so easeful. I'm feeling so grounded, so intentional, and things are feeling like I can implement and stick to without the second guessing. So I'm going to share how to do that. So I'm going to share my journey, my story on before the journey and after, but I'm also giving you the tactile steps on how to do this for you. So if you want that, I'm going to put the timestamp below. You can just skip to that. If you want to hear my journey, my story, you can stick with me here, but otherwise you can click the timestamp for the tactical tips for you. Hello, welcome. My name's Gaia. If you're new here, big welcome. Thank you for being here. I show ADHDers like yourself natural long-term solutions. So like me, I've dissipated my symptoms so much that I don't resonate with having ADHD anymore. I show you how to as well. Now on my channel, I have 2 types of videos. This is the first type, which is more long-form podcast style, sharing my journey with the tactical steps on how to actually implement what I've learned in my journey so you can as well. But stay tuned for a second type of video this week where it's the short form, tactical, to the point step. So let's get started. So I went camping this past week, and I often go camping when I need to find perspective. Like I just need to disconnect, no phone, no cell service, and just be in stillness. I find when I do backcountry camping, I don't bring books. I'll bring a journal or some paper and a pen, and it's just being in grounding nature. And so I did that this week, and it was so blissful. I only went for about 2 days and then got back. I was like, oh, I'm going to just have so much clarity, so much perspective. I'm going to be in this zened out state now for the rest of the week, the rest of the month. Such a beautiful reset, right? Being in nature. I got back, and that next day, I was just spiraling. I was pinging all over the place. I was like, I'm gonna do work today, but then got distracted by everything else around me. It's like, no, I should do this, I should do this, I should do this. And what I find so hard about these days when they come up is I'm like, I want to do work. And instead of being like, it's just not gonna happen today, let's just take a moment. Let's maybe just do some house stuff. Let's do, this project I've been meaning to do. No, I just try to keep forcing it and beat myself up when it doesn't get done. Yet, I end up doing all this other stuff usually. But it's like, that doesn't matter. Because my intention was to do work. And it just didn't pan out. I went camping this week for a couple of days, backcountry camping, which I often tend to do when I need perspective, a reset. Find, some stillness and clarity, no cell service. I don't even bring a book because it's too heavy to hike in. I bring pen and paper if I want to journal. And during this trip, it was all of that. It was actually really challenging hike in that it required all the physical, mental grit I had. Definitely built some grit there. And I was too tired to even journal, too tired to even meditate. I just would sit and eat my supper, would just lay in bed before I actually would fall asleep. And there's so many bugs, I would just lay in my tent. I was just too tired to do anything. And it was needed. It was beautiful. I was just finding so much stillness of nothingness. And I find that when I'm camping, it's so much easier to give yourself the grace of like, well, I don't have cell service. I don't have a book. Like, there's too many flies outside to sit up and write down stuff. So I'm just laying in my bed and I'm just gonna let that be okay. Let that be enough. I find it's really easy to give myself that grace. And I was like, oh, beautiful. When I get back, I'm just gonna maintain this calmness, this intention, this bliss, this groundedness, right? Being away from your phone, you're like, just going to maintain this. I reset in nature. Well, plot twist. I got back, and the next day was what I call those ADHD days. It was full on scattered, pinging, wandering around my home. I ended up doom scrolling on my private Instagram account. I don't go on often for like an hour, which is not my standard at night at all. Like, this is not a vibe. I intended to do work that day. No work got done. I did give myself the grace of like, that's okay. Like, take it as like your vacation day. But there were so many things in my mind. I'm like, I should have done. If I wasn't doing work, I should have done all of these other tasks and house projects, and I didn't. I did do things, but because I didn't complete the shoulds, nothing felt like I got done. I was eating sugar and salt and fatty foods more than I normally would. Like, I'm eating chips, I'm eating some cookies. And it wasn't that like, I'm intentionally choosing this. This is delicious. This feels good. It was, I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to numb. I just want any sort of sensation to feel something. Because I was avoiding, which I didn't know at the time, feeling what was underneath that. And I really, to sum it up, it was so freaking frustrating. Because it was like, I just spent like 2 days in nature resetting and feeling so blissful. And I remember my camping trip last month, same thing. I got back and I was like, I am pinging all over the place. I love using that word. It just means like going from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing and never feeling intentional, harnessed, and grounded. And I got back from that last camping trip, and that's actually when I did the video of quitting social media. That felt right. And I was like, maybe I should just get rid of my smartphone. Like, I'm scrolling longer than I ever do. I was constantly checking for messages. This anxiety of not, it was fine not having my phone, but as soon as I got my phone, I was like, oh, I should message all these people. I should reply to the messages. There's more things I should check. What if I miss something? It's like, maybe the answer is getting rid of my smartphone. And maybe that is the answer. But whether it is or not, I would still find ways to ping around my home, ping around my day. So last camping trip, I was like, I had the same, it was almost like a junkie, like literally feeling so good on the drugs, and that withdrawal, you're like, oh my goodness, I can't handle these withdrawal symptoms. And that was the same coming back from this camping trip. And there's so many things that were frustrating about it, but for me, it was like, this isn't my vibe. Like, I have done so much rewiring in my brain. So much conscious, belief and fear work. I do all of, the, what I call your core four, the good sleep, good stress management, good nutrition, exercising regularly. I was like, why am I falling back into this? And what's even more frustrating, why can't I get out of it? Because I was there for like 4 days of just this feeling of anxiety, of constant restlessness, of ruminating on thoughts as I tried to fall asleep, of waking up and just planning my day and planning someone else's day, and then over planning my day and then over planning someone else's day. Random people, what if they do this and they do this, and just this overthinking, but also this overwhelmed and paralyzed feeling of nothing's getting done. I'm just reacting. And it was so frustrating because I'm like, this isn't me. This is not operating from my core being, from what feels so authentic to me, what feels so blissful and easeful to me. And I have been out of this state for many, many months. And if I do fall into it, I can bounce back within the day, even maybe within the hour. So why am I here for 4 days? And it's fine. I laugh at it now because I'm not in that state anymore. But it's like when you start to dig that hole, you dig it deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's harder and harder to get out. And I was there for like most of my adult life, let's be real. But then consciously aware of that for like over a year. And that's when I reached for meds, because like, I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know how. And I didn't see it being possible for me. So now I know how to get out, and I've seen it's possible for me because I've done it multiple times again and again, and stayed in this blissful, like easeful, intentional, just authentic like living for like many months. So I knew it was possible, but I just couldn't break out of it. So if you can relate, I see you, I hear you. And if you're thinking, you're like, okay, I don't even know how to get out of that. I've never done that before. I got you. I'm going to tell you how. And I want you to look to others who have gotten out of it because it is available to you. But I'll get more into that at the end of this video because I want to share exactly how I got out of this. So it was like Saturday. I think it was, Saturday night. I was like, I can't stay in this. This is not my vibe. This is not, like, I help you get out of the ADHD symptoms, to dissipate the symptoms so much so you can show up with this sense of ease. Let's do that again. It's just not feeling authentic. So over those 4 days, I was like, okay, I know how to get out of this, right? Like, I'm going to do some journaling. Such a beautiful way. So I'd sit in bed with my open journal on my lap with my pen. I'm just going to quickly check my messages on my phone. That journal laid open for an hour as I'm scrolling my phone. Because the idea of thinking, I have to take everything in my brain right now and put it on paper felt so overwhelming. Like, I can't. And then I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to go to bed. And I mean, I would sleep well, but not as wonderful as I usually do because I'm just ruminating on thoughts. I'm going to get up the next day or wake up. I was like, I'm going to start my day visualizing. I visualize, what I'm calling in my life, who I'm becoming, my authentic self, whatever comes to mind. That felt so hard. And right away, I'm going to like the ruminating, the planning of my day and thinking of others and planning their day and just trying to plan and control everything. And I'm like, no, come back to the visual. And I just couldn't stay in it. I couldn't feel it. It's like, okay, well, let's get up. Let's do my morning routine. Call it my dopamine detox. I know the steps. I'm like, okay, connect to my body. Do your prayers, do your journals. And I would go sit outside because it's so grounding, sit on the ground in the grass. And I was like, ooh, beautiful. I'm grounding. This is good. I'm like, I'm just going to stay in stillness. I'm not going to write anything down. I'm not going to journal. I'm just going to take in this moment. I'm going to sip my coffee. And it sounds beautiful, but I was still avoiding just like writing down my intention for the day, writing down the magic, writing down the things I'm grateful for. Connecting to like, what is coming up for me? What's the message I want to share today? Because that still felt like, so many steps. And I was like, I already wasted so much time just sitting here and drinking my coffee. I should get my workout started. But then I would procrastinate and start my workout. I was like, I'm going to stretch for like 20 minutes. And I would start my workout and it wouldn't be to the intensity I wanted it to be. Because I was like, it just feels so hard and uncomfortable. And I know one day I was like using a YouTube video for my workout and I was like, I'll just turn on my phone. I'm not going to check messages. I just need it for the YouTube video. And I started scrolling for 20 minutes. Like, that's not what I do. I do my workout, then I turn on my phone. And typically then I have my coffee. There's a reason to this. And I was like, okay, whatever. We're going to start my day, at XYZ time, whatever time that was that day. An hour later, it's finally started. Because I was like, I need to make the perfect cup of coffee now. I need to make the perfect breakfast. Not quite good enough. I should add this to my breakfast. I should do this. My water's too warm. Now it's too cold. Like, all of these things kept coming up. And I could feel my body just tense in all of this. Like, I was holding my breath. Like I am right now. Just this tenseness. Versus just this softening. Which I know is where I need to be, but I couldn't. I was like, I'm going to put on music. Music always brings me back to my body and allows that softening. I put on music and nothing. It didn't matter. I could not let go of this tightness. I couldn't let go of this going from thing to thing to thing, letting go of this avoiding the space of where I was out of control. And then, I'd start my work day, and there was no focus at all. I was like, I knew all the things I had to do and all the things I was excited to do, but I was like, I don't know what to do first because they're all important. And I'd overthink it. It's like, well, I shouldn't edit the video because I should use my brain and do something that's harder to start, not something that's easy. So I should write out this email. It's like, oh, but that feels really heavy, and what if it's not that important to do right now? I should film a video. And all of these things on my list, which were important, and I'd organized it, I have a very good system and structure for my business. I was like, nothing's getting done right now. I was like, cool, let's do power hour. Let's just focus on one thing. But that hour would end, and it would go back to the scattered energy of what do I do next? Of wandering in my home, getting more food, am I hungry, overeating, all the things I mentioned at the beginning. And I couldn't snap out of it at all. It's just not my vibe. And come Saturday, it was 4 days of that. It's like, no, this isn't what I do. And what was frustrating is that, like I said, I knew how to get out of it. I knew I could. But I was like, it still felt so hard to do. I was like, I know how, I know I can, but I don't know if I actually can do it. I don't know if I can actually stick to the promise I'm going to set for myself. To, do my daily brain rewiring meditations, to do my morning and night routines that, set me up for my day, for my sleep, to connect back to my body, to do all the things to come back to that intentional groundedness that I have experienced for so many months on end, of being really feeling ADHD free. I was like, I don't know if I actually can do it. And there are two ways that came to mind that I could go about this. I was like, the first way is to force this, to use willpower, discipline, like conscious effort of like, cool, make the checklist, put it in my phone, set a couple reminders, set the reminders with exclamation marks, like you better do this, or like some tough love reminders, right? And setting myself a little note in the morning to put on my kitchen counter. I could do the force because I have done that for so many years and it works. I had so many little hacks, right? And they worked. And I would just keep using more discipline. And I thought that was like I wore it like a badge of honor. I was like, yeah, like embrace the suckiness, like do the hard thing. Do the hard thing first. Use more willpower. That's a good thing. It needs to be cultivated. More grit. And you may be thinking, you're like, yeah, that totally works. And it can work in such a beautiful way. That I've done it even in recent years where I'm like, I just need to just do a little bit of force. I just need to get myself back on track. But then I asked myself, I was like, if I use force and willpower, conscious effort, more checklists, more reminders, is that wrapped in the most radical self-compassion and like unconditional love for myself? It's like, fuck, no, it's not. And I refuse to go back to that way of living where on the surface I was like, I don't hate myself. This isn't like self-loathing. I'm getting discipline in my life. But if it's not from a place of just radical self-compassion and unconditional love for myself and self-trust, then that's not a place I want to be in. And that means there is some part of myself I'm not loving, that I'm maybe not hating, but disliking, of shunning. And I'm like, I will not go to that place again. I have built up a place of a place of such a strong self-worth and self-compassion, self-love, and self-trust. I'm like, I'm not going to go back to this place of hating on myself. and putting myself down, and the spiraling negative self-talk that would never end, and the force, and the 5,000 phone reminders and alarms saying, you better do this, you should do this now, you're better than this, and the fake motivation for yourself, which is, again, fake motivation. It's not coming from love, at least the reminders I was setting. And that's not a vibe. And I want you to ask yourself that too. If you're like, well, I need discipline, I need willpower, these things help me get things done. Are you approaching or wrapping that in radical self-compassion? Of like unconditional love for yourself. Of just undeniable, there we go, self-trust. The answer is probably not. Because it's really hard to always stay in that place when we have so many layers on us from programming since we were born that we're needing to just peel back like an onion, and that takes time. It does take energy, legit mental energy, of coming back to our core being, what is so worthy and enough as you are. Coming back to that innate self-trust, the unconditional love, the compassion. And it's at the core of that onion that we're peeling back. So yeah, often it is wrapped in some self-loathing, some areas that we're shaming about ourselves. I want you to ask yourself this, like, if you could approach everything in your day with that radical self-compassion, that unconditional love for yourself, of self-trust, knowing that what was going to get done or need to get done would get done, how would that look for you? Like, what would your day and life look like? How would that feel? For me, it's just so easeful, it's so blissful, it's magical, there's like no strings attached. I can just be authentically myself and fully knowing that's enough. And knowing that what I intend to do, the promises I set for myself, I'm going to keep. That self-trust is there. That intention is there. It stays there. It doesn't come from this, this upside down motivation, this willpower or forced willpower and forced discipline. Not how I've come to learn them as. What if your day could just be so flowy, so blissful, so easeful, that the negative thought spirals didn't stay with you, that there was so much love for yourself? Because if you're pouring love, kindness, and compassion to everyone around you, because you want to make them happy, make sure things go their way, things get done for them, why aren't you worthy of that? Why can't you give that to yourself? Why isn't that possible for you? Ask yourself that. Why can't I give the same love and compassion and even trust to myself that I give others or to other things? Why am I not worthy of that? Why am I not enough to have that? And ADHD can make a lot of things hard. But at a soul, core being level, you are worthy, such a worthy human, like everyone else, and you're worthy of that. How your brain has developed, your lived experiences, don't dictate if you can have radical self-compassion and unconditional love for yourself and self-trust and be deserving of that. So why can't you have that? Why aren't you giving that to yourself? So why aren't you allowing yourself to start to step into receiving that? Right? Because when we can open up and say, I'm worthy and deserving of even receiving this unconditional love, this radical self-compassion, this innate self-trust, then you can actually start to give yourself that. But if you deep down believe like, I'm not even worthy of this, I don't deserve this, this will never be for me because, ADHD, or I'm broken, or I've never been good enough, and I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I didn't get that done, then I shouldn't say never, but you won't be able to give that to yourself because you're not opening yourself up to even receive it. I just want you to sit with that. Because Saturday night, I had 2 decisions. The force, the willpower, the discipline, and I had all the systems. I have all the hacks. I have strategies. I know how I could force myself to do it, right? Could even call in an accountability buddy. But like everything else, it would lead to burnout. It would lead to constant negative self-talk. It would fizzle out after 2 weeks, maybe after a 30-day challenge. And those things work, and I still use those things, but they need to be on the foundation of self-compassion and love. So my second option was lead from self-compassion and self-love. And that's what I chose. And even in that moment, you're like, this is how I'm going to approach it. That voice is still coming up. It's coming up so strong of like, okay, yeah, but how are you going to do that? How are you actually going to do what you want to do? Because I had not been doing my daily brain rewiring meditations for a while. So of course the voice is saying like, well, you haven't done it for so long. Like if you just do it today, like it's not really gonna make a difference. One time's not enough. Plus if you do it, you better do like a 30 or 40 minute one. Do some journaling. Set aside like multiple hours. You better get really deep in it. You better like have some big emotional release. You better have like huge insights, big clarity, messages from God and the angels. Like it better be so freaking perfect. And if you're going to do a little visualization before bed when you wake up, you should like script this. You should record it for yourself. It better be really potent and deep. In the morning when you connect to your body, that also needs to be so deep and so perfect. Like everything that like I knew how to do it was the voice was saying it better be to the extreme epitome of perfection, and you have to do it every day, all day. If not, it's not worth it. And oh, are you kidding? You're never actually going to be able to do that. Right? That voice is still freaking there. I'm choosing the self-love and compassion, but I'm like, how? But how when this voice is so strong? So if you have that voice too, do you recognize it? No, you're not alone. But the love will always, always beat it out if you allow it. And I'm going to give you the tactical steps as well on how to do this. And how I did it. So Saturday night I was like, oh my God. Like the first thing was just recognizing it. I was like, okay, these are just lies in my brain right now. My ego's just piping up. My ADHD brain's piping up. And I would say them out loud because that would help me see how ridiculous they are. That they were just lies. I was like, not true. I have stuck to things that I intend to for long periods of time. If I don't, also not a big deal. And that a little bit does make a big difference. It's getting me back on track. That was the first thing. And the second thing, I was like, okay, I have my toolkit. I know all the different ways I can come back to that groundedness, that sense of ease, that bliss, that intention in my life. I'm like, okay, we know how. Great. I feel confident with that. I have the systems to support me. But let's start with the simplest thing. The thing that to me feels so freaking easy. And we're going to bookend our days with it. And that's a key. I'll explain that a little bit later on what that means. It's really, really important. Saturday night, I laid in bed. I was like, okay. I've already stayed up later than I wanted to. Scrolling Instagram. Didn't do the meditation journaling I planned to, but I have a 12-minute little guided visualization meditation that, you know what, I can just fall asleep to. I can just lay in bed, put that on, And that feels really good to me right now. And that's all I need to do. It's so easy. That's what I did. Put it on, listened to it, fell asleep. I was like, had a beautiful sleep. I was like, okay, this is great. I just took the first step, connecting back to my authentic self, that grounded energy. And in the morning, I was like, that felt so freaking good last night. I'm going to do that again as soon as I wake up. Forget whatever visuals I'm thinking I need to do. I'm just going to listen to this guided meditation again. And I did. And it felt so freaking good. I was like, that's enough. And I got up. I was like, I don't need to do this big, long morning routine. I feel connected to who I am. And I'm just going to follow my basic 15-minute morning routine, knowing it's enough. Doesn't have to have bells and whistles attached. I'm just going to write out the magic of the day and write out some things I'm grateful for. I'm going to name the fears that are coming up. I'm going to say them out loud and see how silly they are. I'm going to connect to my body. I'm going to move, do some movement. I'm going to dance. I'm going to work out. And set my intention for the day. When I'm feeling so grounded, so centered, I'm going to set my intention. So if I spiral and come back and go all the pinging ways, I can come back to this intention. It's like your past self's got your back. And that was Sunday and rolling into today. And I feel so centered, so grounded. Like, the ADHD symptoms have melted away. And this is a beautiful place. And it's coming here and trusting yourself. Like, I can come back to this anytime. I can stay in this as long as I want. And if I fall out of it, that's okay, because I know I can come back. Always. And I do want to just say and make this known, just like point blank. The theme of all of this is connecting back to your body. It always has, it always will be, and I talk about this a lot. Because our brain, our ego, our ADHD, as I just described, and as you may know too, will tell you so many lies, right? You need to do more. You didn't get enough done today. You did nothing today. There's nothing to be proud of. You jumped around all day and got nothing done. You didn't finish that. You finished that, but that wasn't very good. You should keep doom scrolling. You should hyper focus on that. It's not a very good thing to hyper focus on, but you should, right? It's telling us all the lies, but our body never lies to us, ever, 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 ever. In the basic form, mind-body connection, right? If you're feeling anxious butterflies in your stomach, you're like, because I have to give a public speech now, or okay, no wonder my body's feeling that. Even just crying. You're like, oh yeah, that felt good. That felt really good. That felt like a release. Okay. That wasn't a lie. That was true, right? How your body feels is always true. And you don't need a reason for how it feels. And it will always communicate with you. It's who you are. It's your authenticity. It's your core. Because your brain is really like a computer system. Yeah, it helps us. It's important. We need this. We need this brain. But your body is where the truth is. Even just think like, when you do a meditation and you're like, oh, that felt so good. And you're like, I'm craving doing it again. It may feel hard to do, but you're like, I'm craving doing it again. Or you go for a run, you're like, ooh, runner's high. I'm craving to do that again. It may feel hard, but my body's craving it. My favorite, what I call your movement flow, where you're doing a fun activity, your brain just goes quiet. You're so focused, so intentional. You're like, oh, I'm just so in the zone. This feels so good. I want to just keep going. Right? When it feels so freaking good, you want to do it again. That's your body being like, this is us coming back home to what's true for us. And when it feels good, it's so much easier to keep doing it, right? If you are doing this all from your brain of like checklists, reminders, planners, accountability buddies, you're like just forced up against a brick wall, right? That's how I led my life, trying to do all the self-improvement things. The meditation, the gratitude, the, reading so many books in a month. Versus now when I'm like, what feels so freaking good to my body? What feels right? It flows. It all flows. Everything gets done in my day that's supposed to get done. And it feels like there's still so much space. I remember everything I got done. I feel proud of what I got done. and it's coming from a centered place because it feels so good, and that's where I lead my life from. Topic for another time. I have lots of videos and content on that, so if you want more information on what it means to connect to your body and how to do that, how it's the secret to essentially beating your ADHD, just comment below. I can send you some resources on that. I have a whole program actually on body, which will be re-released coming months, to be announced. Little surprise there. But I want to tell you the practical steps on how you can as well come out of that spiraling. Come out of the I want to do what I want to do, but I can't do it type thing. So here's how to actually do what you so desperately want to do, implement, and stick with. The first thing, if you're like me and just what I call pinging all over the place, you're like, I can't even center myself. I can't even, take a pause. Tell yourself this is okay. Recognize it. Like, okay, this is how I'm feeling right now. I'm so in my mind. I'm going from thing to thing. I'm pinging all over the place, full on ADHD day. And you're like, okay, that's okay. Don't try and fight it if you feel like you're just so far on the other end. Like me, I was like, okay, we're just going to let this be. And then go to bed. Like wait for night, but go to bed, because that's going to help stop like the avalanche. The momentum you have going in that direction of your ADHDism, just go to bed. It's a beautiful reset. And you can tell yourself, you're like, okay, you know what? I can try and change this, but it may just feel too hard right now, and that's okay. Tell yourself that. Recognize it. Tell yourself it's okay. Be like, I'm just going to go to bed, and tomorrow I can start fresh. Okay? So when you wake up in the morning, even if this is going to head to the day that you don't want, every morning you get to start fresh. The momentum has been broken. So even if you wake up feeling anxiety, doesn't mean your day is going to be like that. Write down your intention for the day. How do you want to show up today? How do you want today to feel, to be? Not the tasks you want to accomplish, but what's the intention of how you want to feel? What's the vibe of the day? Write that down. Because during the day, especially at night, you're gonna fall away from that. That's okay. It's normal. But I like to say in the morning, you're like this right-minded thinking. You're like, that's, when you write down, you're like, I'm gonna work out today. It's gonna feel so good. After work comes, you're like, yeah, fuck the workout. No, I got shit to do, right? It happens to me all the time. It feels good in the morning, this right-minded thinking, and then in the moment later in the day, you're like, But you can come back to that. Your past self, he or she has got you. So you're gonna go back to them like, they knew what they were talking about. Yes, they said, do a workout after work because it's gonna feel so freaking good for my body, and it's after work. And I get what they're saying now. Okay, it's gonna feel good. I'm gonna go do it. Okay, write down your intention. I do I have a full training on my morning routine. I have videos on my morning routine, but I do a full training that I'd love to send you. So comment. I have it linked below in the description. It's my dopamine detox, but you can also comment below if you want my full morning routine, because this is part of it. It's very, very, very crucial. So you have your intention for the day. I want you to now list out, like say it out loud. I find it's easiest. All of the fears, because if you're like me in that deep down spiral, you can't even see the way out, right? There's a lot of fears, even things that you're like, why am I afraid of this? They're all just gonna come on in. It's like digging that hole and digging yourself deeper in the hole. The fears are just swarming you. List them out, like say them out loud, because then you can consciously realize this is ridiculous. And let your fears, when you say them out loud, to go to like worst case scenario. You're like, I'm afraid to go to my soccer game tonight because that person could be there and they may be mad at me for some ridiculous reason, and then everyone will laugh at me and no one will like me and I'll live alone in the woods for the rest of my life. If that's your fear, because I've had fears exactly like that, that's totally valid. But when you say it out loud, you're like, okay, yeah, okay, that's ridiculous. It's not gonna happen, and if something did happen, I would be okay, right? List out the fears. It's gonna give you that perspective. And then connect to your body. And there are lots of different ways to do this, meaning EFT, tapping, dance, just like hand on your body, like skin on skin, workout, anything that brings you back into you. I think of it as a softening. So if you feel like you're very much in like your upper body, in your head, you know, even in your chest, think of like deep belly breathing, or just softening your body, taking some deep breaths, and that's going to bring you back to you. I love dance and movement. I find that's the easiest. Plus you're like, I wanted to work out anyways. I might as well just do my workout and just come into my body. Now, I go into depth on actually all three of these things in my full training on my morning routine, which, like I said, I do every morning, sometimes just to a different vibe, right? Coming back to it and actually making it effective to myself like I did this week. So if you want that training, happy to send it to you. I'll link it below, but also just comment training and I will send you the link direct to your comment as well. So connecting back to your body. And if you're like, I just don't know how to do this, am I doing this right? You can't do it wrong. You're just gonna be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna dance. I'm just gonna do a workout, something that like moves my body. Like, start there. Plus, like I said, I have so many more videos and content on connected to your body. So maybe just comment body and I'll send you some info on that. But the thing that's really gonna solidify this for you, the next tactical step, is bookending your day. Why bookending your day is so important? Because when we have an appointment in our afternoon, we're like, I don't want to miss that. I don't want to be late. I'm not going to do anything before it, right? Right? Or we're like, I have a deadline in 2 weeks the night before. Shit, I'm going to do it. You get it done, but it's waiting to that deadline, right? We are time blindness. It's so hard to conceptualize when we have so much empty space. But when we book in our day, as soon as we wake up with this morning routine, it can take 15 minutes, 5 minutes movement, 5 minutes of fears, 5 minutes of intention and gratitude as well. I put into there 5 minutes at night. I mean, not 5 minutes a night. You can do 5 minutes a night, but then doing your night routine right before bed, like literally laying in bed before you turn off your lights. You're like, okay, the next thing to do is fall asleep, so let's do it right now. And I like to, when I coach clients on night routines, literally be laying in bed. Because if you think of, I need to do a night routine before bed, you're never going to get to bed on time, right? Because it's the same thing. Ooh, just one more thing, just one more thing, just one more thing, just one more thing. Be laying in bed. This is the bookend. And do something that feels so freaking easy and simple. So what I recommend, put on a guided meditation for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. And I actually have one I can send you if you like. It's a body scan meditation. So I may also link that below, or just comment meditation. I'll send you the body scan meditation. It's like 6 minutes long. Connecting back to your body. You're feeling good. So you're going to have a good sleep. You're going to fall asleep really easy. You're going to wake up feeling good because you had a good sleep, right? Lay in bed. Do like a guided meditation for 5-10 minutes. Freaking glorious. There's lots of other things you can do, yes, but anything that brings you again back to your body, back to you, that ending the day on such a beautiful note. Because I would tell myself, I'm going to journal all the things I'm proud of. I'm going to journal all the things that went well today. I'm going to journal my gratitude. That just felt too much work. I had to make brain and paper and pen versus laying in bed, listening to a guided meditation. That feels so freaking easy. So that's what I want you to do as well. You're going to wake up and follow those first 3 things. You're going to go to bed, laying in bed, listen to that guided meditation. And I have resources for all of you. So for all of you, just comment below and I will get them to you. And when you do this, it's going to feel so freaking good. It's going to stop the ADHD spirals, the pinging, even just for a moment. You're like the runner's high. I can't wait to come back to this. And that's where I am right now. And I tend to stay here because the more you come back to it, even if it's just for a moment, for a day, it's easier to come back to because you're starting to build a self-trust because you've done it before, you can do it again. But until you do start to come to this place of ease, of intention, of groundedness, of calm, look to others who have been there. That will show you it's possible for you. So for myself, others you may know, friends, family, people online, and how to do it, I'm just shared with you here in this video. If you have any other questions, please comment below. Happy to answer them for you. I'm here to support you and help you also just dissipate your ADHD symptoms so much so that it's no longer a struggle for you. And life can be so blissful and easeful and wonderful. With that, I'll link another video here you can watch until my next one comes out. If you're new here, I do have a longer form one, which is this one, podcast style, and then my shorter tactical one. So stay tuned, and I love you so much. Bye.